It could have been more.
As
Yeah.
it should be.
Well, it's nice that, as everybody's recovering from Pride, we are back to the 3-anchor format we used to be in. So it'll be nice, comfortable, wholesome show. Just
Wholesome. You hear that, Jana? We're wholesome.
just the immediate family.
We're wholesome. I don't know if anybody's ever called me wholesome. Okay.
Because it's Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson, and since we added that to the intro, he's been out of the show more often than he ever was. But we're going to have a good show tonight. Welcome to Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only LGBTQ+ daily evening news. It's time to queer up the news. It is 8 p.m. Tuesday, June 22nd, and we are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ+ evening news show. Literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
Thank you for joining Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ+ evening news show. Whatever happens, you will see it. Queer News Tonight is supported by viewers like you. We are a part of the Happening Out television network, Hotspots Magazine, and We Meg Events. Hotspots is celebrating 35 years of the LGBTQ+ experience. Merged, we bring you the best of the LGBTQ news, entertainment, and support of our LGBTQ+ community.
This evening, we bring you the news of and perspective representing the LGBTQ+ community from South Florida, America, and across our planet. I'm your anchor, Queer News Tonight, David Hopkins. Let's welcome anchor Gordon Woodworth III. They identify as a pagan and as a genderqueer, non-binary Gen Zer. They're currently a data entry and triage specialist at the nonprofit organization Broward House, a not-for-profit social services organization with nearly 35 years of providing services for our community impacted by HIV and other chronic health challenges. They are all also now running an alt-space VR channel called Pagans in Virtual Reality. Good evening, Gordon.
Thank you, David, and I hope you had a happy Daddy Day. You'll always be Daddy Ramrod to me.
I know I had to pass down my Daddy Ramrod title.
Let's welcome anchor Dr. Jana Jaffe. She was a former Broward County Schools educator before getting her master's and PhD in counseling. She's a board-certified sex therapist. She's also the Community Relations and Events Manager at Broward House, one of South Florida's most important LGBTQ health services nonprofits. Good evening, Jana.
Good evening. Happy to be here. Spoke to you a few times this morning. So, Broward House, just want to tell you a little bit about what's going on with us this week. We are celebrating National HIV Testing Weekend. And if you don't know your status, get tested. If you've been tested, talk about it. The more we talk about it, the more we educate and reduce the stigma of HIV. And also very important, the Smart Ride 18 registration ride is open. So we are riding 165 miles from Miami to Key West this November 19th and 20th. And Broward House is one of the benefiting agencies. This year's theme, To Life, which is so appropriate and important to our organization because the money raised helps fill the funding gaps from our grants. 100% of the money that we raise goes to direct client care and supports a better quality of life. This event is truly a life-changing experience. My first ride was in 2017, and I can tell you it's unbelievable. In fact, I proposed to my partner 2 rides ago. So it means a lot to me, and it's incredible. And she said yes, by the way. You can sign up to ride, crew, cheerlead. Either way, you'd be happy you chose to do it, participate, and trust me, sign up at thesmartride.org.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I'm stuck here. Yeah.
Well, we are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ+ community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast. And here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Tuesday, June 22nd. We'll start by queering up South Florida. A gay couple was ordered to take down their pride flag, and now neighbors are flying them too. Watch this.
A gay pride flag the size of a single sheet of paper is the source of a standoff in an Oakland Park neighborhood. Bob Pleminski and Mike Ferrari face steep fines for displaying the colorful flag in their front yard. Eastland Cove's HOA issued a citation telling them to take it down or pay.
I got upset because, I mean, we've done this before and it's a simple showing of our pride to the community, and it's up for 30 days, and we were actually in shock that they were even going to do that.
The Homeowners Association sent the violation notice on June 5th after a complaint came in. The notice said to remove the flag by June 15th or pay $50 a day. The couple was confused, saying they've posted political signs and the pride flag before with no problem. They feel like this time they're being singled out.
I really think the citation is because it's a gay pride flag and someone in the neighborhood is offended.
But a member of the HOA board said this is not discrimination, that they're simply following the rules. And they referenced a restriction on displaying flags here in Eastland Cove. Only American flags or state and military flags are allowed. For now, this couple says they're comfortable breaking the rules.
It's going to stay up till June 30th. We as a community worked really hard.
On Thursday, we here at Queer News Tonight reported that Bob Pleminski and Mike Ferrari of Oakland Park had received notice they were not allowed to fly their pride flag. Bob Broso, president of the board of Eastland Cove Homeowners Association, said someone had complained to the board about the rainbow flag, leaving it no choice but to enforce its rules against flying flags other than those the association allows. The couple has since displayed more rainbow flags on their property, and 11 of their neighbors have joined them in flying the rainbow flags at their homes.
As it should be.
Yeah.
So I don't know about y'all, but I've been in this situation before. I lived in a community, I was on a lease, and it was against the lease agreement for me to fly a flag off of my porch balcony. And I did look at my lease, and that was prohibited. So what I did was, instead of flying it off the balcony, I pinned it to the wall because that was not disallowed by the lease.
And very interesting that you point this out, because one of Bob and Mike's arguments is that the Homeowners Association only has restrictions on what flags can be presented on flagpoles that are attached to the home or in the yard. As you noticed, this is just stapled to their mailbox. It's not on a flagpole. It's more of a banner than a flag the way it's hanging. And honestly, if they get fined that $50 a day, that $750 is completely worth it for them to stand their ground, in my opinion.
Yeah, and maybe the neighbors will get together in their next homeowners association meeting and change the bylaw so they can do it. And they have the right to do that. I hope they do.
Well, the tragedy that happened at Stonewall, I say we just recreate a parade through Eastland Cove and have some fun with the pride flags on our vehicles.
Fabulous idea. Let's do it.
Well, next, let's queer up entertainment. Sesame Street features 2 gay dads in latest Family Day episode. Sesame Street continued to showcase its diversity with its latest Pride Month special. The popular children's show introduced some new faces to the neighborhood and included 2 gay dads. In the episode, Nina introduces everyone to her brother Dave and his husband Frank. The couple is then joined by their daughter Mia as they celebrate Family Day with Big Bird and Elmo. Alan Moroka, who directed the episode and played the owner of Hopper's store, opened up about the recent LGBTQ+ inclusion in a statement. He said, quote, "Sesame Street has always been a welcoming place of diversity and inclusion," unquote.
And obviously, Sesame Street is not an Eastland Cove Homeowners Association. But I grew up with Sesame Street, and that's one thing I will say. As a kid, you always saw various genders in different jobs that you wouldn't normally see in other media. You saw people of all the different races represented. They've always been there doing this. And people are always like, oh, we need to cancel them. They're pushing an agenda down. No, they've always been very progressive. Jim Henson was like that.
They purposely, when they first started, they purposely made sure to get all the colors of people's skin so that kids would see people like themselves. I mean, they purposely did that.
Yeah, and honestly, it was exciting to me to see this because I didn't see that on Sesame Street growing up, and I look at that family. It's a white man, a Latino man, and then a Latino daughter, and I think that looks like my family. So I was excited to see that because I wish I had been able to see that as a kid.
Great. Now we queer up gay culture. OKCupid adds bear, bottom, and switch to its list of LGBTQ plus identities. Dating app OKCupid says it's marking Pride Month by increasing the number of ways in which LGBTQ users can identify. In a blog post, they said, quote, users can choose from an expanded list of over 60 identities to signal to other users who they really are and how they identify, end quote. New identities you can include in your profile include bear, boy, bottom, butch, drag king, femme, hard femme, high femme, leather, stone femme, switch, top, and twink. It says the additional list of identities, which should be all on offer by the end of the month, was created in consultation with the Human Rights Campaign.
You know, a lot of people argue against labels, but labels are important for people who want to communicate who they are. You know, labeling other people is bad, but self-labeling is very important. So I'm glad they're adding all these. You know, I'm not a high femme, but you know.
Doesn't it sound like when you're reading through the D&D handbook and there's all the different types of elves? You've got your high elves, you've got your low elves, you've got your wood elves. You know, all those different types of things. I love it. I was looking at this and I was thinking, you know, I don't know about the two of you, if you've ever had a profile on OKCupid. No. I call it OKStupid because it's pretty much the quality of people you've met there historically, and it usually is geared towards straight people. So it was nice to see this change. I'm just hoping that they and other social media dating apps will try to create more spaces for lesbians and trans people to be accepted, because even now they're doing this, it still is a move that favors gay men more than any other person or type of person in our community.
See, but drag king and most of those femme descriptions are terms I've heard in the lesbian community, not the gay. So they are definitely showing.
I didn't see lipstick lesbian.
Well, that's like high femme. And brick femme is when you're not quite as pretty, but you're still feminine.
But there's no grinder for women. There's no grinder for women.
Thank God.
Well, next we're going to queer up the road to Stonewall. The Navajo Nation celebrates its first official Pride Parade after a devastating year. When Navajo Nation Council delegate Nathaniel Brown came out to his dad, he was terrified. But when Brown told him he was Nadlihi, a third gender Navajo culture, he was surprised by his father's reaction. Brown said, quote, "My father was telling me that I am born the way the holy people made me," end quote. This year, Pride came as the Navajo Nation, which suffered some of the worst effects of the pandemic, leads the country in vaccinations. Cars adorned with gay and trans pride flags, signs reading "We are Sacred Navajo," and rainbow streamers paraded from the Navajo Nation Museum in Arizona through Central Window Rock to the Navajo Nation Council chambers. So I'm terrible at pronouncing Native American words, so I apologize to our family in the Navajo Nation. But, you know, a lot of the Native tribal communities were desperately hit by COVID because they live in very tight-knit communities. They don't necessarily have access to medical care. And I'm so happy that Navajo Nation is going out there making sure they get vaccinated so they can rebound. And to be able to celebrate Pride is just an amazing feeling.
Yeah, and honestly, it warms my heart to see the Navajo Nation do what they've always done since before pre-colonial times. And you know, I, as a pagan person, this warms my heart because they fought for their right to do that, and they fought for their, you know, the Native American Religious Freedom Act of 1978 that allowed the rest of us to also have precedent, at the very least, to practice our own beliefs. So I love it.
It's incredible because of the oppression that they've been through in just the past with us, and to get to this point, I think is just something for our community to celebrate for their community. It's amazing.
Next, let's queer up sports. Raiders' Carl Nassib is the first active NFL player to come out as gay. Watch this.
What's up, people? I'm Carl Nassib. I'm at my house here in Westchester, Pennsylvania. Just want to take a quick moment to say that I'm gay. I've been meaning to do this for a while now, but I finally feel comfortable enough to get it off my chest. I really have the best life. I got the best family, friends, and job a guy could ask for. I'm a pretty private person, so I hope you guys know that I'm really not doing this for attention. I just think that representation and visibility are so important. I actually hope that like one day videos like this and the whole coming out process are just not necessary. But until then, you know, I'm going to do my best and do my part to cultivate a culture that's accepting, that's compassionate, and I'm going to start by donating $100,000 to the Trevor Project. They're an incredible organization. They're the #1 suicide prevention service for LGBTQ youth in America, and they're truly doing incredible things. And I'm very excited to be a part of it, to help in any way that I can, and I'm really pumped to see what the future holds. That's all I have for you guys. I hope you have a great day. Work hard.
And he's single. Las Vegas Raiders defensive end Carl Nassib on Monday became the first active NFL player to come out as gay. Nassib, 28, made the announcement in an Instagram post. In the post, he said, quote, "I'm at my house here in Westchester, Pennsylvania. I just want to take a quick moment to say that I'm gay. I've been meaning to do this for a while now, but I feel really comfortable enough to get it off my chest. I really have the best life. I've got the best friends and a job a guy could ask for," unquote. He pledged to donate $100,000 to the Trevor Project to celebrate his coming out. The Raiders' reply on the official Twitter was a simple, "Proud of you, Carl."
But they're matching it. So as simple as, "We're proud of you, Carl," they're backing their words up and they're matching that.
The NFL is throwing that money right alongside him. And this is, you know, the NFL has traditionally not been as gay friendly as some of the other sports, that, like the NHL, which is hugely gay friendly. The various national and international rugby leagues are hugely gay friendly. The NFL does not have that going for it, generally speaking. So to see the NFL standing behind a gay player from the get-go, the day of the announcement, and saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to back you," is such a great thing.
It's time.
I also am excited about this because, again, this is a very masculine guy. He really breaks the stereotype, and he shows, you know, you can be a guy's guy, you can play football, you can do all these things, and you can still be gay. And it's exciting because I hope more football players come out, so then it'll stop being an open secret that we're all sleeping with them anyway.
Well, and this will literally save people's lives, not just for the donations from the Trevor Project, but another person, like you said, representation that people can identify to show with, yeah, I may be gay, but I can still go out and kick ass on the football field. It lets you realize it doesn't matter who you are, you can be gay, and you probably are.
And that's what he said, that I'm doing this to save lives.
Mm-hmm.
Good for him. What a role model.
Absolutely.
Now we can queer up a sports follow-up. UEFA blocks attempt to illuminate German stadium in rainbow colors. Soccer's governing body in Europe has rejected a request from Munich's mayor to light up the stadium hosting Germany's Euro 2020 match against Hungary in rainbow colors. Quote, "Given the political context," end of quote, Mayor Dieter Rieder had asked to illuminate the Lions Arena to resemble a pride flag, to protest a new law in Hungary banning gay people from featuring in educational materials in schools or TV programs targeting under 18s. The UEFA said in a statement, quote, "Given the political context of this specific request, a message aiming at a decision taken by the Hungarian National Parliament, UEFA must decline this request," end of quote.
Now, we didn't have enough room in the story, but I do want to add the UEFA did suggest other dates around game times and stuff to show that they do support the LGBTQ community. They're just trying to stay out of the political argument of this specific request.
And you know, I feel like that's such a cop-out because you can't really separate public media and politics. We're all going to see it, and it is the world stage. Our athletes and athletes around the world have staged protests at events like this, at the Olympics, at the Super Bowl, big games, because people are watching. That's why we do it. I think the UEFA is really, it's a cop-out to me because you can't say you support diversity and then you also lack the will to fight for it.
Well, you know, soccer is the largest sport in the world. People in America forget that because it's not our biggest sport. It is the biggest in the world. And the UEFA basically has to act like Switzerland. They're dealing with a lot of countries that don't get along with each other, like Hungary, Poland, Romania, England, France. So they try and stay as politically neutral as possible while still trying to support everyone. And it's a really tough line to walk. So
my initial thought was Gordon was the same thing. But really, in knowing just the history and of that it is what they have to do. It's the best thing for them to do.
Yeah.
I hope that the mayor utilizes his power to, just like our neighbors in Oakland Park that we were talking about earlier, find the loophole.
Just do everything else in rainbow except for the arena.
Everything around that stadium can be rainbow.
Yeah. Now let's queer up the world. WorldPride is making an epic comeback this year with a renewed purpose. We've reported on WorldPride coming to Copenhagen, and as the world continues to recover from the trauma of 2020 and pride flags begin to unfurl across neighborhoods, foreign and domestic, all eyes are on Copenhagen and Malmö, Sweden, who will be hosting WorldPride. However, this year's WorldPride is particularly meaningful. For the first time, WorldPride will use its platform to raise awareness of injustices across the globe, particularly as it pertains to equality, queer migrants, transgender rights, and discrimination. While there have been similar forms at past WorldPride events in New York, Madrid, and Toronto, it's never been integrated with the general program like it is this year. Yeah, it's often WorldPride's just a party, but they're having a whole international council on LGBT rights this year, which is amazing. And Copenhagen just opened its borders to tourists if you're vaccinated, so it can be a good
We're not
WorldPride.
just about parties all the time at this point.
Yeah.
I think it's,
Yeah.
we're growing up.
Yeah, and there's one thing about the gay community that this demonstrates is you can knock us over, but we're going to get up every time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is our queer headlines for today, so let's catch up on the LGBTQ plus news surrounding COVID-19 with our special segment called Quarantine Quickies.
Queer News Tonight has been LGBTQ plus America's most important news source on the pandemic, as we have reported on coronavirus every news broadcast since January 6th, 2020.
Tonight we report the devastating effects coronavirus has had on the American and worldwide LGBTQ plus community in total cases and deaths.
But we also provide hope of a new light at the end of this long tunnel. First, we report that as of tonight, more than 2,409,000 LGBTQ plus Americans have contracted COVID-19.
We have watched the greatest single year LGBTQ plus health crisis of our lifetimes. More than 43,000 LGBTQ plus Americans have died from coronavirus.
But the news is improving because as of today, more than 318 million vaccination doses have been administered in the U.S.
Now the question is what the number of what the CDC calls breakthrough cases. This means after you are fully vaccinated, how many will continue to contract COVID-19? As of June 14th, 2021, more than 144 million people in the United States had been fully vaccinated against COVID-19.
Next, the CDC is monitoring serious infections that cause hospitalizations after being fully vaccinated. Again, the results are incredible, with only 3,729 hospitalized in America.
Finally, the most important number is how many COVID-19 deaths for those that are fully vaccinated. CDC reports as of June 14th, only 671 fully vaccinated Americans have died of COVID-19. This makes the coronavirus vaccine one of the most impressive medical achievements in history. And that's really an amazing number. When you're looking, 144 million people are fully vaccinated. That means both shots, unless you're, with the J&J, and only 671 have actually died, and less than 4,000 have been hospitalized if they catch it.
And this just shows the vaccines are something we've been using since the late 1700s. They're tried and true, and they work. And if you don't believe that, I encourage you to talk to your own doctor or anybody that you trust about it, and in the medical field, and really ask your doctor those questions if you're not sure, because I understand people have reservations, and that's normal, it's human or whatever, but we've given them to millions of people at this point. They're safe and effective.
Well, and as Dr. Grossman has said on this program, the coronavirus vaccine was built on work that was done with the original SARS virus a decade ago, because this is a variation of that virus. So it's not like it's a brand new virus that just materialized out of nowhere. It's something that's been in the works that they just modified for this new variant of the virus. So.
Well, that is our COVID-19 news for tonight. Next, we report that Happening Out Television Network is passionate about our support for the LGBTQ plus community.
An example is Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. We are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine and supporting that partnership.
The network broadcasts the largest LGBTQ plus religious broadcast in the world, with more than 30,000 watching every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and it's totally live.
We encourage you to tune in. Our campaign of sponsorship proudly supports Sunshine Cathedral. It's my queer church.
Hi, I'm Athena Dion, drag performer known for performing on South Beach and in Mykonos, and Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
Finally, we thank Queer News Tonight's hotel sponsor, Best Western I-95 Fort Lauderdale. This is the closest and best choice to the famous Wilton Drive, and our host and guest stay at this LGBTQ+ ally partner. We encourage you to stay here when visiting South Florida.
Well, welcome to Q's Q&A on LGBTQ health and pandemic. For nearly a year, this segment has been unique in America, answering your LGBTQ+ community questions about our unique health needs. We are proud to have Queer News Tonight's health anchor, Dr. Howard Grossman.
He is an American pioneer in HIV and AIDS medical treatment and was the executive director of the American Academy of HIV Medicine. He is a nationally recognized medical expert and proud member of our LGBTQ+ community. Good evening, Dr. Grossman.
Good evening.
Hey, how's it going tonight?
Good
So
to see
before
you.
we move into this week's viewer questions, what are your thoughts over this week's health news for our community?
Nothing much this week. Why don't you go to the question?
It's just a lot of the same stuff. Well, let's jump right into the viewer questions then. The first question was, I saw Florida still has some of the highest numbers of new cases. I thought we were doing good on vaccines.
Not compared to everybody else. When you look at the rates of vaccine uptake in the Northeast, for example, they're well in excess of 70% of the people. And last week in New York, they just set off a bunch of fireworks when they hit 70%. Most of those states are well ahead of states in the South. I think we're doing better than a number of southern states where the rates are down about 30%. But if you look at it in Florida, by county, we're not even at 50%. And so those people are still vulnerable. I mean, as we've said week after week, the people who've been vaccinated are protected even against the newer variants. The people who are at risk are the people who are not vaccinated. They are the people who are sustaining this epidemic.
Gotcha.
Viewer question number 2. A government office in Manatee County closed after 6 people were diagnosed with COVID. 5 were hospitalized and 2 died. They still won't require vaccines or masks. Can we expect more of this?
Well, I think we're seeing that. It's the politicization of something that's pure public health. And, certainly in other public health epidemics, we have required people to be vaccinated. The Equal Employment Opportunity Office has stated that employers can force vaccinations on people as a requirement before they come back to the office. It's completely legal. We've done these things for public health multiple times in history. This is a particularly bizarre time when we're getting this kind of degree of pushback. There's always been pushback. It's interesting. If you look at the history of medicine, the pushback against the use of penicillin, the pushback against a polio vaccine, pushbacks against a number of public health efforts over the centuries, actually, but especially in the last 150 years, when we really did have public health. And it's always the same dumb arguments that keep coming back up. It gives you a bit of a sense of perspective, but I don't think we've ever seen it quite as widespread as it's been made into a political, hobby horse.
Absolutely.
It's unfortunate. It really is unfortunate, and I think people just have to buckle down and make sure that they protect themselves by getting vaccinated.
Viewer question 3. The Delta variant seems to be hitting some parts of the country very hard. Is this due to politics?
Well, I mean, I think the fact that people aren't vaccinated is speeding the spread. In Britain already, the Delta variant is the dominant variant, and according to a report I heard on NPR this morning, the Delta variant is spreading all over the U.S., and it's expected that within a matter of weeks, probably 2 or 3 weeks, it will become the main variant in the U.S. It's a highly infectious variant that spreads much more easily and that impacts younger people to a greater extent than some of the previous variants. So and again, it's the people who haven't been vaccinated that are making this thing spread faster.
Yeah, I feel like some people think looking things up on Google is science, and they confuse the two and don't listen to the actual scientists.
Well, and people don't, we don't teach people about science. We don't teach people about scientific method. We don't teach people that science and medicine are a process. That we build on our knowledge and that we learn more at each stage. And yes, sometimes we have to back up and say, no, we were wrong before, and there's new information. But people are not taught how to process that.
Yeah. Well, that's tonight's Q's Q&A on LGBTQ plus health and pandemic. We're here every Tuesday with Dr. Howard Grossman to answer your questions. If you need medical assistance, we encourage you to contact Midway Specialty Care Center with 10 locations in Florida, and especially Dr. Howard Grossman here in Wilton Manors and all across South Florida. Thank you as always, Howard, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you all. Happy Pride Month.
Happy Pride.
Well, that is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show. Is our community important to you?
Then help us by liking and subscribing. Ring the bell for the updates. Share this news with your friends and family.
Post this broadcast in the many groups you're a member of. Tonight's stories about our community deserve the attention of your family and friends.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television news in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines, and we need your support.
If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. This is the only place in the world that tells these LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of what's happening out television, network, Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor of Queer News Tonight, Val Ferguson, David Hopkins, and on behalf of these LGBTQ reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Gordon Woodworth III and Dr. Jana Jaffe, we'll see you daily at 8 p.m. Good night.